Hey guys, this is Chris from Fright Fights Podcast, and we're doing another franchise frenzy video here. And basically what we're doing here, in case you didn't catch up on our Facebook group page, but we are going through different franchises and we're sitting down and watching each one of these franchises, each movie in the franchise. We've done a few of them already, but I haven't shared my thoughts with everybody else. So what we're doing is we're all picking up different franchises. We're doing a random wheel turn and to determine what franchise we're actually going to be watching. And then we sit down, we watch each one of those movies and do our own little thoughts and reviews on them and stuff. So I decided to go ahead and start making these videos to share my thoughts with everybody else as well, outside of the Fright Fights group. And right now we're going to be doing the ones for the Stepfather series. So that one won a few choices back, and I wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts on those. So the first movie, the first Stepfather film, is, I think, one of the best type of, not really serial killer movies, but kind of that TV, made-for-TV feel, stalker type movies. Terry O'Quinn plays his role as the stepfather is very, very unique. It's very, very creepy and eerie, and I absolutely love him as that character. And I know that other people can play that part. I just don't think it'll ever be as good as what Terry O'Quinn makes it be. That moment in the film where he is like, "Who am I here?" when the phone rings and he's trying to figure out where he's at, and just that sudden change of nice to mean, like, immediately. Just very creepy, and I've always loved him in that role. And it's also a really violent movie too. The death scenes in them are very, very brutal. Really, really like that film. It's probably my favorite one in the entire franchise. I do like part 2 a lot. Stepfather 2 is really good. Terry O'Quinn returns, and he's really good in that role. But I feel that it's kind of like the first film over again, just not as good of story. We have Meg Foster in it as well, which she's really good. And then you have Jonathan Brandis, who is, great in everything he does. But there's just something about part 2 that it doesn't make that eerie tone as the first film. And another thing that I do love about part 2, though, is that song, that whistling sound that he sings, that he kind of teaches it to Jonathan Brandis' character, and then you hear him sing it later on, and it all kind of works itself out. Really like that, because that song that they sing, that little whistle, is kind of creepy. And that's just one of my favorite parts about the movie for part 2. Then we go into Stepfather 3, and I always call this the Easter movie. It takes place on Easter. However, that's the beginning scene. I've always thought for some reason in my head that it took place on Easter, but it's literally the only opening of the movie is an Easter part, and the rest of it is not Easter at all. Doesn't have Terry O'Quinn as the role. But the guy that plays the stepfather, I think he did a pretty decent job. He's not as good as Terry O'Quinn, but I think he's as close to being what Terry O'Quinn is without being Terry O'Quinn. I like how they made the reference back to the whistling, where that whistle sound is back again. He sings that and teaches it to the kid. It's a fun movie. I believe it was a direct-to-video sequel as well. And to me personally, I think it's actually really good. I enjoyed it. The only thing about it is the ending, where he, spoiler alert, the ending of the film where he gets pushed into the wood chipper or whatever that thing was and grinded up. I don't know, it just, to me, wasn't very believable, with the kid being in the wheelchair and getting the ability to walk again. It was just too much, it's going to happen, and then I don't know. That's the only part that really irritated me, was that particular part of the story. But other than that, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was pretty decent, entry into the Stepfather films. Then we jump into the Stepfather remake, and this one I remember seeing it when it came out, and I thought that it wasn't that bad. And this time the stepfather is played, pardon for me for forgetting his name off the top of my head here, but it's played from the guy that was on the TV show Nip Tuck. I can't think of his name, but I mean, he doesn't do a bad job. But I think the movie really suffers from, it feels too much like one of those Lifetime movies. There's not a lot of violence in it. When there is something really bad that happens, it's not in particular gory or violent. It's just blah. So it does really suffer from that. So it comes across as like a Lifetime, made for Lifetime film. And because it's got the drama, it's got like the characters that are, Amber Heard, I believe, is in it. And I watched it again, and I just didn't really care for it that much. It was not really entertaining. The characters weren't really likable. I know you're not supposed to like the stepfather, but that's really one of the reasons why you watch the movie, is for the character of the stepfather. You kind of cheer for him to do the bad stuff. And I really didn't care for him as the stepfather. I'm not sure what it was about him, because he's a good actor. I really like the guy. And for some reason, I just didn't care for his role as the stepfather. Hopefully one day we'll get another version, another stepfather film, and to see how that plays out. I mean, I like the whole franchise as a whole. I thought it's a really solid franchise, and the weakest one is the remake. Best one is the first one, as usual. Second one's really good. Third one is pretty decent, and I mean, I recommend all four of them to everybody. I think everybody would really like these, but that's my initial thoughts on the Stepfather films during our Fright Fights franchise frenzy. And hopefully after we do a few of these, we'll end up doing maybe a live podcast version where all three of us can get on and share our thoughts. I'm hoping that's going to be coming up soon. But if you really want to join us in what we're doing with our reviews and our movie watching, we are doing the franchise frenzy. We are going to announce the films as we do them on our Facebook page, so you can join in there if you want to. It's facebook.com/Fright Fights Podcast, or just search Fright Fights Podcast in the search engine there, and you can find it. We are also doing a 100 horror movie challenge, where every few weeks we are going to be posting a new or another horror film. We'll do 100 different ones, but it's just a random horror film we'll be posting, and you guys can join in and watch it, and then we'll share our thoughts on it. You guys can share your thoughts on it if you want to on the same Fright Fights Facebook page, and just join in on just watching horror movies, just celebrating and enjoying watching horror movies. But that's it, guys. Thank you all for joining in, and hope you all like my reviews / thoughts on the original Stepfather series and the remake. And hopefully you'll be able to catch us again next time I do one of these. I believe the next one is going to be Scream, and then I believe it is A Nightmare on Elm Street. But I will let you guys know as soon as I find out. So, see ya.